Check one.
Even outside, it's packed.
I think so. There's a lot of people here. Hit that like early, guys. Let me know if you hear me all right. And we'll be ready to go in just a couple seconds. It's happening. We're getting so close. The Major's going to be joining us as soon as he finds his way to the right room. It's going to be a good time. I got some stuff story-wise that's just crazy this morning. Oh, there we go. We're live. That's me. There we go. Is that audio working? Check. One. Yeah, all right. Sounds all right. That's not half bad. Good morning. How are you? Happy Monday. And you know how I mean that. I mean that in all seriousness. It's it's Monday morning to me. It might be Monday morning to, or afternoon or evening or hold on one second. Let's see. Does he know the I will let's see. Just checking in on our guests. We have weird cats. All right. Let me. I have to. It's a password issue. Dink. Hold on. Let me start with that. And let's see. Just trying one thing. I see. Hold on one second. I think I have this in here. I should be all right. I'm going to send another link and send a thing and then see if it does right here. And I'll see if we can fix this thing. I'm working in the background. How about that one? We'll see. I'm working on it. I'm doing stuff behind the scenes. Hi, chat room. By the way, I should bring you guys in. Just say hello. Hello. Good morning. How you doing? Wait. Sorry, I just saw that go by. We lost a sparkler. I gotta scroll back. Sorry, moms, you were just saying we lost. Cindy Rigdon. Oh, I'm sorry to hear. Thank you, Matt, for letting me know. Love to Cindy and all her family. Hi. Thanks for letting her spend time with us. Big hug to everybody in the chat room right now. I'm going to try and get the Major in here. We'll talk to him in just 1 second. I think it's going to be all right. Fingers crossed. Let's see. That link should work. I don't know why it wouldn't. Keep me posted, Andrea, and we'll get him in here as soon as possible. I did see him in the other room. I just couldn't. I wouldn't be able to hear him without a horrible echo, and I'm trying to fix that. So, hi. Good morning. How you doing? All right, where are we going to start? First of all, let me. Shit, I don't even. Half the time when I start back up, let's see. This gonna be. Oh no, it actually worked. Look at that, crazy. Let me show you something real quick. This is for all the China money people. This is all the, hey, James Comer's staff. Yeah, you, the sweaty person that watches my show all the time to see where the next rake your boss is going to step on is, and yet all you can do is watch him stomp towards it like an asshole with white knuckle grip on the end of your desk. And you're like, God, Sparks was right again. Here it comes. And no matter what I say, he just won't shut he's just, that the Alexander Smirnoff thing is, we'll get more into that. Oh, I see the Major showing up in the background. There he is. Ooh. And I can hear him as well. That's good. Hold on. I'm going to bring him in, but I want to point this out real quick. I don't know if people can even grasp the enormity. I don't, I love being right. Don't get me wrong. I should have a shirt that says that. Don't get me wrong. I love being right. I expect that one in the merch store by the end of day. But the whole it's all this China money, and China owns Joe Biden, and Joe Biden and the China money and China money. I'm like, first of all, motherfucker, they don't have any money anymore. These are some broke sons of bitches. They are. This is fucked up. Now, I told you guys, about the real estate, and I told you about COVID, and I told you this stuff was coming, and I was right the whole time. And then the other one is that I was like, everybody's getting the hell out of Dodge. They're getting out of China, and the extra money that you think is inflation, which is more money available to blah, 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 and the money printer go burr bullshit, which is all garbage, is everything's $1 more expensive because of supply chain shift from China to Mexico or Vietnam or Czechoslovakia or wherever the hell, or the Czech Republic, wherever they're making the stuff now. The cost of moving that factory to a place that doesn't use slavery adds an extra $1 to your stupid fucking H&M shirt. That's how it works. That you're not paying because there's more money in circulation. The more money the U.S. government puts in circulation, the more money El Salvador uses as their currency because it doesn't work. Same thing with Venezuela. They're all switching to the dollar. There couldn't possibly be enough dollars in circulation to have monetary inflation at this point with the number of countries that are taking the U.S. dollar and using it as their primary currency. I'm talking to you, fucking Turkey. Don't lie to me and tell me that you're standing on your own 2 feet when our government and our dollar is propping you up. Meanwhile, holy shit. This is foreign investment in China has not been this low since 1993, when two things happened. One, nobody was fucking going in there. Only the nuts and the people who saw the rise early, who were like, I'm going to get in early and build something, who sucked the money out of it and bailed out in 2009. Those fuckers. And then everybody else was rushing into Russia because the Soviet Union had just collapsed. They literally took their fucking money and ran over there to build stuff, mostly oil companies, but they all went there. 93 was a boom year for Russia and a couple of other countries, but it was shit for China, and this is the worst. $33 billion. I love, and I gotta say, I fucking love the wording on this. And let me bring in the Major, and hold on, Major. I'm gonna bring you in. I gotta swap out the names in this, boop, like that.
I'm just enjoying this economics lesson.
Dude, I gotta show you something when it happens. It's so funny. So I went in, and ladies and gentlemen, Army Major joining us. Thank you for being here, brother. How are you?
I always enjoy being on the show, brother.
Oh, thanks. Well, we're glad to have you. Also, everybody, turnleftpack.org, bookmark it, get some sweet hot merch as we try to tack this giant boat we're all on in the right direction in a speed conducive to consistency and growth, as opposed to yanking the fucking wheel Trump style, and going, maybe this way. Like, yeah. So, we turn left in the same way we do on the road. If you're on a motorcycle, you got to recognize the conditions you're in, the state of the road, and that kind of stuff. Now, all right, let me bring this in, and I'm sorry about the labels will be off, but I'll get that in a second. No, that's my name. And where's Phil? Take Phil off, and then I'll label you up in a second, Major, but I just wanted to show everybody this. This is in my notes. Back one, hello. Back to this guy. Yeah, here we go. So this is like, these are my notes for the day. This is what I do at 4:00 in the morning. Is I go through like financial stuff and I look at the state of the world shit, and I go through all this stuff, and anything that stands out, I'm like, oh goddamn. It isn't just that foreign direct investment from the United States, and this is the chart that's in that article right here. This guy right here, this thing. Foreign direct investment in China collapses. FDI, I love the fucking FDI rises by the least since 1993. Okay, first of all, you don't rise when you're going from this bar to this bar. There's no rise from this bar to this bar to this bar. This is the last year of Donald Trump. This is where shit was headed. into 2020, Donald Trump guaranteed on his way out the door that China would do better, both in PPE and all that kind of stuff, being our main supplier and all this shit. Even with his tariffs, it was a fucking buyout. To the spike in 2021 that came directly from Donald Trump and his friends going, oh shit, China's not doing well. We need to protect our investment. And so they jacked up a bunch of shit, and it went to this number. And then Joe Biden and his China money and his whole China government and our enemies are giving millions of dollars to the Biden crime family, came in, and this is what happened. Pow, pow, puh. Like that. Look at this shit. Biggest spike ever. Based on the policies leaving office, Donald Trump, again, you got that lag time from 2020, and the Trump policies going deep, 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 all the way up to here. And then Joe Biden's, when his policies start coming in, which includes the CHIPS Act, and includes all these protection elements for American intellectual property, where servers can be, chips for fucking AI and all that stuff, all that starts, and pow, goes right to that. Now look at this. That's last year. This is 2022. Even like you could track this. Here's the Chips and Science Act. That's where it is now.
Yeah,
yeah.
You can see it. You can see it.
You absolutely can. Now check this out. For anybody who thinks it's just the United States, for example, this is South Korean investment into China. Same fucking marker.
Wow.
Look at theirs. Right up here, and then as soon as we put our curbs on, hello NVIDIA, their head is a Korean dude, and they've got a lot of stuff. They make, again, most of your iPhone is not made in China. All this bullshit about, you're on this phone made in China and made in China. No, it's assembled in China. A lot of the parts are either made in Silicon Valley or they're made in South Korea or Taiwan. These are the three places where the shit that's in your phone is made, and then there's a factory in China where they slap it all together. And then look at this: South Korea last year, 2022, South Korea last year.
Wow, yeah, blatant.
Yeah, it's
South Korea has it's absolutely enjoyed the ability to say in many times fastest growing economy on the planet.
Right. Now, and obviously there's what I call the Schaumburg rule, which at one point Schaumburg, Illinois was the fastest growing city in America because there were 4 people living in it, and then 8 people moved in, and they've had 200% growth. So, I mean, if you're, again, like Donald Trump has that big thing about like standing in an 8-foot hole, manages to get a ladder out of it, and now thinks, he's 12 and a half feet tall, right? That's he's a little bit shy of that. So this is my favorite phrase on it, and it's a little small. I'm sorry, everybody. It was in one of the articles, but China's direct investment liabilities, a broad measure of FDI that includes foreign companies' retained earnings in the country, and I love the way they phrase it, rose by $33 billion in 2023, down 81.7% from 2022. What the fuck is that sentence? Can anybody explain the logic of rose by $33 billion, down 81%? Where in the ever-loving shit? I don't...
Yeah,
I know I'm not an economics expert, and I'm sure it has something to do with like short put, long, whatever stocks, the way people talk about it, but that is fucking bananas.
Brother, that's the talking points for the next Trump rally.
It totally is.
That's what that is, man.
Right. That first, the darkened part, the dark part that says rose by $33 billion in 2023, that's not my emphasis. They put that emphasis on there. I didn't fucking do that. The down 81.7% from 2022, according to data from the State Administrative Foreign Exchange released Sunday, that part's all in regular type. And I didn't fuck off. Ugh. Wow. So, yeah, just fucking crazy. And then, and this is the last I'll say on it, and you and I could talk a little bit about the rest of the world. But hold on, check this shit out. This, if you want to talk about a recipe for foobar, right when, like, just when you thought things couldn't possibly get shittier. First of all, the head of the Chinese stock market, the Shanghai Exchange, I believe it was, is deposed by his CCP handlers, and he just drops off the face of the earth. Like, that dude just got fired and fucked off, and they just bye. It's your fault. Like, they're just hanging him out to dry. Like, it's his fucking fault that the entire policies of the CCP towards the rest of the country that just strangles any private growth or any of that kind of shit. But it's his fault. Jesus Christ. So, also, by the way, the chat room is saying, love your videos, Major, and you're amazing, and they appreciate you. Just wanted to pass that on in there.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So, this is... Can you imagine a dumber group of people, considering what they did to the real estate market with Xi Jinping's 3 red lines, which was like, if they have these 3 problems, they can't do anything anymore. Well, all the real estate in the entire country is past those 3 red lines by a mile. So it was just like literally like revving a car up as fast as you can, driving it as fast as you can for miles, and then just throwing it into reverse. That's what they did. That was the equivalent of what they did to the real estate market. It was just that shitty. I mean, it's out of control, but you slow down before you put the brakes on like that. Xi's party will take a more direct role in steering development of technology. These assholes, that's like, can you imagine saying, just imagine, the Freedom Caucus wants more say over technological advancements in CRISPR and AI and social media algorithms, and they'll form a board that tells them what they can and can't do. Like, that would be insane, right? Like, we would all just go, what the ever-loving fuck are you talking about? There's like, they don't know anything about this. Same thing is true of the CCP. They don't know shit about any of this stuff. And they're going to take it over now. This is their solution. Like, it makes no fucking sense to me at all. I mean,
it'll probably crash.
Yes.
I mean, but that's the thing. I don't understand that. It also kind of reminds me of, like, Donald Trump when it come to basically putting people in charge of things.
Yes.
When you put the biggest crook in charge of something, you can expect there to be problems later on down the road. And, this is a communist, dictatorship is what we see there. There's a lot of things that China has done wrong that's really hurt them, and it's definitely starting to hurt them now. The whole policy of one child policy. They're now saying that within the next 20 years, China's going to lose like 400 million people because they have this huge problem with the elderly, but they don't have anything. You would think that the next generation that's supposed to take care of the elderly people. It's like a Christmas tree where like an upside down triangle is what it looks like.
Yes,
they don't have any. The youth aren't going to be able to take care of the massive amount of Chinese people that are growing old. And I mean, these are all policies or all issues that stem from the way that China does business, and they cannot sustain this forever.
Yeah. Well, that's the other part is that, Donald Trump keeps saying, these people sharp as a tack, the smartest people ever. They know what they're doing. Biden doesn't know what he's doing, but these guys like Xi Jinping, he rules 1.4 million people with an iron fist. Okay, first of all, he fucking well does not. China doesn't have over 1 billion people. That's garbage. They're also not the second fucking economy in the world at all. They're more than likely 4th or 5th, right?
I mean, they rely. I mean, people don't realize that we have a little bit of protection when it comes to China because of the I think I said this before on here.
Yeah.
We know that if China does the wrong thing, all we have to do is basically cut off the grain, and China will start having a starvation problem.
Right.
I mean,
Peter Zion talks very much about this, that one particular strait that all the boats have to go through that is sort of their equivalent of the Red Sea Pass going by like Somalia and Yemen that the other ships are dealing with right now with like the Houthis, for example. If you blockade that one area, all the supply stuff that China needs is immediately gone, because think of all the countries to their east, us. We're the Far East, right? So, but us, Japan, South Korea, none of these other countries are going to help them, nor would they. Taiwan, for the example, why would they rush in to help? And I mean, we'll supply food. The irony that the only reason we wouldn't do it is because we actually give a shit about people's lives, and they just don't. They can stand. They can just.
A lot of people don't realize, and I've, when you fly over top of Siberia, you will fly for 4 hours, and you may see 2 or 3 lights when you're looking down at the ground. The entire flight, it's the most boring flight if you're flying over Siberia.
Right.
But China has large swaths of land as well, where you're talking about like almost like people are still living in tents and yurts is what they call them, and we're talking literally fourth world countries. They may be within the borders of Russia, or they may be within the borders of China, but they don't really have much of a say with these people. It's like literally people that are like,
it's nomadic. It's like it's very much a lot of similarity with like the southern parts of Afghanistan and the border with Pakistan and all that stuff. Like, because we have a tendency in the West to not even think of the borders in other countries like our southern borders. Probably everybody talks about how porous it is and all that bullshit, but we have a lot of tech down there to watch people come through. That's why the same people are like, we have no idea how many people are coming through, and they say exactly how many people are coming through, and then they go, we don't even know where they're coming from. We found a person from this country and this country and this country. Like, well, then I guess we fucking do. But we tend to even think of, I think in general, we think of borders the way a European backpacker thinks about it. You know what I mean? Like in our head, we picture all borders, like if you're going from France to Germany or going from France to England, or you're going into any of the, like going to Belgium or Austria or anything, you have to stop at a border place and wave and show them you're an American and you just go right through, or just like little, at least an exchange of that everybody uses basically the right roads, and there are no like Austrians and Germans sneaking across each other's border with any, regularity. There's no point. And there's certainly people there aren't people who speak, fucking Bavarian German as a dialect living somewhere on the border of, Austria and Germany, like kind of standing there going, now I'm in Germany, now I'm in Austria, now I'm in Germany. Look at this, like, you know what I mean? Like they don't give a fuck, but like there's a bunch of dudes, and I mean dudes, because it's a fucking sausage fest down there. But around Pakistan, Afghanistan, in those border areas, half of them don't know what the fuck Afghanistan or Pakistan is. Like, they have been raised and brought up in whatever tribal idea and identity they have. They don't, if they know those words, it's as an abstract concept. They think, a lot of them, like when they interviewed a bunch of these dudes, they thought Afghanistan was Kabul. They thought Kabul was just another name for Kabul. It wasn't, because they don't understand the Afghan government and all that kind of stuff. And the same thing with like Pakistan. They're like, you're Pakistani. I'm a what? Right? So the idea
there's a significant amount, and you're talking. Let's talk about Pakistan and Afghanistan. I'm pretty sure they're called the Coochies. And they do not recognize. Quit it. No, I'm serious. I'm pretty serious. They do not recognize.
I'm not going to call somebody the Coochies. Stop it. We got to come up with another word.
Well, here's the thing: is that
have they ever fought against each other and deposed their leader and literally had a coochie coo? I just want to know for my own.
I'm almost positive we called them Coochies, but
I don't doubt.
Well, they would cross the border. There was no such thing.
Yeah.
Both governments of both Pakistan and Afghanistan knew that these were a nomadic group. They were going to come through. We had a problem with the Taliban trying to basically infiltrate those folks.
Yeah,
because,
of course.
Because they literally would like, if they went to a person's, they went to an area and there was another tribe there, they would literally go to war with each other concerning on who can grow crops right there.
Yeah.
And it was always an issue during certain parts of the year, but it's the same thing. I mean, nobody. Right. It's like people are living in the medieval times.
Yeah.
You can go to these places. A lot of people don't realize places like Afghanistan and Pakistan, and I mean, people still live in mud huts. People still live in caves.
Right.
You will watch little kids, no joke, out there fist fighting for daggone a pile of cow shit. That's a fact. They will literally, because that cow, they'll pick that cow shit up and they'll run to that mud hut and they'll slap it on the side wall on the outside. And that, animal droppings will basically harden. It will dry. And that thing right there will burn for about 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And you will see their mud huts covered. And there's handprints in these big round piles of shit. Mm-hmm. And that's how they make it through the wintertime. Because, I'll tell you right now, they've stripped the most of the terrain doesn't really have any trees, green, or anything like that.
That's what MJ Daniel's saying. No wood to burn fires. So,
they rely on coal. And of course they rely on wood that's usually brought in from someplace else. But really, just depending on where you are.
Look at the area of the world that we're talking about, as far as just inhospitable nature in regard to how life lives there, if at all. And
ruggedly beautiful.
Yeah,
ruggedly beautiful.
Right, but at the same time, that's one of the reasons why, if you look at, say, the Bible or whatever, or you look at the Torah, like the oil that lasted for 7 days when it was supposed to only last a day, like that kind of mythology, around Hanukkah, for example, is based on this idea, like how shit things were. The fact that Christianity, Judaism, and Islam came from the Middle East is why hell is hot. Okay? That should explain it to you. Why that descriptor? Hell, whatever you think this is fucking hot. Hell is you cooking, motherfucker. That's what that is. Really. Because if we'd have gotten Christianity from Eskimos, hell would be ice. It would be frozen permanently, but alive. That you don't even get to go to the big sleep where you fall asleep in the snow and die. You would you'd be frozen, but never be able to, get away from how cold it is. You'd always be cold and it would never normalize and blah, blah. Yeah. That's how yes, Norse hell is freezing cold. That's exactly right. The hail, as opposed to that, which also, by the way, comes from hail, literally like ice. The only way ice could get worse is if it falls from the fucking sky in rocks. Yeah. So that's kind of crucial. That said, let me show you another thing real quick. And this is to the Russian end of things, real quick, and I'll get your take on this. But this is one of the things that people like, because Avdiivka fell, but I think I personally believe it's a bait that baited the Russians into just spending a bunch of stuff. So, and then you let them take it, and then you go, oh, woe is me, and then they get settled in, and then you wipe them out. You just had to get all the civilians out, which they did. And then once they're settled in, then they're in a pocket, and you go after them again, drive them out, which is the same thing that happened in Bakhmut. But one of the other things they don't talk about is that this Russian petrol exports are down. This is the refined gas, the refined fuels are down almost 30%. And this is recent. This is fucking, this is this week. This is today, essentially. Yesterday, the day before yesterday, 3 days ago. 3 days ago. So there were a couple of reasons. One is they can't sell it it's very expensive. It's difficult, and then they'd rather sell the oil to somebody cheaply because all they got to do is pull it out of the ground and shove it in a tanker and run it off someplace and let somebody else deal with it. So India has been buying the oil. But there is another reason that they're down. Their reason was an accident at the Novgorod refinery, which is, accident. I don't know. It's a funny way of putting it. But the main reason, of course, was that accident was they accidentally let a bunch of drones through.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they accidentally exploded. And then when they tried to put the fucking fire out, all the guys who know how to put out a gas fire have been sent to the front to die. And so the assholes that were there thought fire is fire. Let's just put it out like we put out a house fire. Sprayed fucking water on it.
Good
freezing
job.
temperature. Yeah.
Good decision there.
And the water froze as fast as it landed, expanded, and cracked all the fucking pipes. That whole refinery, there was more damage done by the fire crew than the bombs themselves.
That's horrible.
Because Russia sent anyone who knows what they're fucking doing to die.
Hey, they've already come out and stated that something like 87% of the invading force that literally invaded Ukraine,
the guys who were on
2 years ago,
February 21st. Yeah,
they're dead. Like 87% of the Russian military is dead. And now, and oh, by the way, they just surpassed 400,000 Russian KIAs.
Yeah, we showed that Saturday.
They're getting it handed to them. I don't know. I sit here and I think to myself, if they don't do something to Vladimir Putin, if somebody doesn't basically remove him from power, we may end up, finding ourselves, seeing nuclear weapons being launched. I would not put it past somebody like Vladimir Putin because he's a dictator, and a dictator, it's all about the dictator. And, they're not about to give up what they have, and they will go to whatever it takes. If Donald Trump had the ability to shoot nuclear weapons at the Department of Justice, he would have launched those in his last couple days.
Well, you do have a factor with him in that ultimately he's a coward and a big talker, but when it comes to actually doing any fucking thing that requires that has any kind of scary notion around it at all, quite frankly, other than just kind of like standing in front of his own pile of shit and yelling at people as they take it away, this motherfucker talks a big game. But I gotta say, like, okay, first of all, dude didn't fire fucking anybody on The Apprentice, and he certainly didn't fire anybody in the fucking White House. Even Comey, he had somebody else do it. He outsourced that because he's too much of a wuss to go up to him.
Legitimate chicken shit is what he did.
Yes, there was not a single person. Look, remember like when he had fucking Sidney Powell and all those assholes in his office talking about the election being stolen, and he had real lawyers in there, all of whom have been, questioned about this shit, who are like, he was asking all kinds of stupid shit, and they were full of crap, and we were yelling, and there was a big argument. Did Donald Trump fire any of those motherfuckers in the room? Did he go, get the fuck out of here? You're not my attorney anymore. She is. No. He stuffed his dick up his own ass and went and sat back down and went, who's going to fix this for me? For fuck's sake. So the idea that he's going to, pull the trigger on something as enormous, even his bullshit about, we're going to walk down there and I'm going to walk down there with you. Right? And he didn't do that either. He went back to the fucking White House and sat in a room and threw ketchup at the walls. He's a wuss. The other thing, the same thing is kind of true about Vladimir Putin. Because Vladimir Putin certainly used to be a tough guy. Clearly he did. But he's, from that Tucker interview and some of the other shit, I mean, maybe he's doing some muscle memory cleverness from his days in the KGB, but for the most part, he seems like a bloated disgruntled asshole. And one of the things I've said that I stand by. I don't see how after the fucking Cold War went on as long as it did with the matter, like the back and forth we went through as countries, and the USSR fucking falls, and the doors are wide open, and everybody's in there, including Bush 1 and then Clinton, are going, we'll help you make sure none of your nukes go missing, right? We went in there, we did a bunch of cleanups at a bunch of these things so that some of the bombs wouldn't go off to Afghanistan or end up in Kazakhstan. We helped take the ones out of Ukraine. You're going to tell me that after almost 30 years of the fucking Cold War, that we didn't get in there and plant malware in all of their guidance systems and backdoor the fuck out of that place? We knew about programming backdoors. You know, fucking anybody see War Games? Jesus Christ, that was movie level technology.
1980s.
Right. And so the idea that we didn't come in there and go, boop, okay, malware, like, and if these motherfuckers ever launch this shit, it's gonna go up into the sky and then right back to Moscow. Like, that's why wouldn't you? Because if they're gonna launch it, it's nuts if they launch it on anybody. Even if they're on our side, all of a sudden they're like, don't worry, we got this, and then they decide to fucking kill somebody else. We're like, hey, ease up, asshole. Those are big weapons. The other thing is, what if they're dicking around and this is all bullshit and we've got like 18 months till these motherfuckers go, you know what, screw it, back to the USSR.
Look, you know, if you enjoy traveling Europe, understand that the last thing you want to ever see is us go back to the Iron Curtain. And I will tell you that those countries that are basically behind the Iron Curtain, or at least were, they want nothing. They want nothing. They still remember what it was like, and they want nothing to do with ever going back in that direction. You can go to Belgrade in Serbia, and you can see, you can really see the Russian, touch on the buildings, the foods, everything. I mean, you can really tell that, at one time this was really controlled by the Soviets. But I'm going to tell you, I mean, it is, I just absolutely had such a great time going to a lot of those countries because now, they're not part of,
oh my God, Kazakhstan is like it. There was a period where everybody was like, "Oh, Kazakhstan's going to start siding with China because they're because of the sort of the back and forth between, like, their leader is clearly ethnically a mix between either Mongolian and Chinese and Russian or whatever. You can even see it in his structure. He looks like a biracial Asian white dude, like that kind of thing. And so it looks Kazakhstani. That's what they look like because that's where the region is. They're a bridge region, but they're a real people. And this dude, everybody was like, oh, well, they used to suck up to Russia. Now they're going to suck up to China. They're actually going, yeah, we got enough oil and shit. We don't have to suck up to fucking anybody. And it's better for us if we make friends in the world rather than pick fights. And so all China does is try to sneak in everybody's back door. And all Russia does is try to fucking headbutt everybody at a meeting. So we're going to avoid all that shit. They're more European than Georgia is at this point. And that's fucking crazy. Like, and then, in Russia, right before this war started, they rolled in there and don't be fooled. That was a flex to make sure that Kazakhstan didn't try to make a move for the door while this war was going on. Like, hey, we can cover two fronts at once. And Kazakhstan was basically like, the fuck you can. And that guy put the old guy, the Russian stooge that had been the president of the country, put him in fucking jail. He locked him up. It's crazy. Let me show you something real quick, because this is another piece of the news that I like in this part of the, whoops, hold on. I'm going to go back to here. Guest and news. There we go. This is like part of this, like the story that we see about the Houthis. The last Houthi attack on that before the US and UK responded with a bigger round of strikes, did not hit an Israeli ship or a ship with a Jewish accountant or a ship that was run out of Brooklyn or some shit, right? Where there was like tacitly a Jew involved. So the Houthis were like, we are solidarity, right? Bullshit. They fired on whatever tanker didn't, pass through their territory that they could either get a piece of, maybe sink and take parts off of before it goes down, or they could kill everybody on board and just take the fucking ship. Because that's the other thing the Houthis want to do. The Somali pirates and the Houthi pirates are basically jockeying for who can, once all, like, they're hoping it all falls apart so the US and the UK aren't guiding ships anymore, and everybody's got to have their own security, and if they can overwhelm them with the help of Iran or the help of the Saudis, depending on who's siding with whichever Somali group you're talking about, they can just kind of either protect the ships or take them, depending on who goes through. Okay, so the last one they hit was a Russian ship. And they killed a couple people on board, and this, like, the weirdest, like, this is one of those weird article titles that I think points to how to borrow a phrase, non-binary the whole Red Sea thing is. Houthi attacks on Russian oil tankers complicate things for Indian refiners. So again, remember I was telling you, like, the Russians aren't selling gas and diesel, and there's all this, oh my God, well, we have gas and diesel. Well, that's because they're selling oil, and then India, we are giving India permission to buy cheap Russian oil, turn it into oil and gas, and send it out to the rest of the world. And by doing that, we're helping, support them against China. We're also, as long as the oil is sold under the cap, it's still, Russia is not making their nut on what it takes to actually get the oil out of the ground. They're selling it below cost. The Indians are buying their oil at like $50 a barrel. The break-even price in Russia is 55.
Wow.
Yeah. So they buy it for 50, turn it into gas, and then sell it to Europe and the like, and India makes that profit, right? And we look the other way. Like, well, they sanctions-wise selling those refiners should be part of that, but we're like, no, it's fine. It's screwing Russia anyways.
We're benefiting from it probably too. So yeah.
And then what happens to the refineries in Russia? They're collapsing, right? They don't fucking, like, the ones that still work are basically running on a skeleton crew because nobody's buying it. They can't sell the gas. They can only use the gas. Gas is super cheap. One of the reasons, like, I'm fucking sure that Tucker Carlson, I didn't watch the other videos on his thing, went like, oh my God, gas is like nothing here. And like, yeah, asshole, because they can't sell it to anybody. And if they stop using it, the tanks will freeze up.
Wow. Yeah.
So this was an India-bound ship carrying Russian crude 3 weeks after the first of complicated matters for domestic refiners. India now counts the Vladimir Putin-led nation as its biggest oil supplier, according to Paris-based market intelligence agency Kepler. And these attacks come on top of U.S. sanctions since December, where vessels that bring crude to India are facing heightened scrutiny. That's, again, we are winking and nodding at the Indians and allowing them to do this. This is, and as we should. It's super smart tactically. It's World War II level shit, but it's brilliant. And it is absolutely the posture and policy of the Biden administration versus what the House isn't doing anything. And the Republican senators want to side with the Democrats, but they dare not for fear for their lives. So it's so fucking fascinating to me. The complicated nature of this, and these assholes are handling it with like crayons and hammers, just like ding, 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 like. It's amazing to me. So
I don't have a lot of fear of other than Vladimir Putin could potentially launch nuclear weapons because when you basically corner somebody, when you corner a rattlesnake, they're going to bite. But I mean, other than that, I really believe that the Russian people are really behind the scenes. I think there's a lot of people that are fed up in Russia. We don't see the loss of numbers like this today. This was something that you could see during World War II, but for a country to lose over 400,000 troops, that's something in our lives we've never seen.
And there's
And
tens of thousands of those people that are supposed to get a died in Ukraine fighting the Nazis bonus for their family when they did, which they're not getting because Russia doesn't want to pay it out. So they're fucking their families out of this money.
they're
And
also they're also leaving the bodies. They're leaving the dead.
Right.
You want
Yeah.
to talk about
Ugh.
never leave a man behind. Look, at the end of the day, folks, we believe the same thing goes for our dead.
Mhm.
We don't just leave the battlefield with Americans straddled across it. We get them, and if it means losing soldiers fighting to secure their bodies, then that's what we'll do.
Yep.
I just this is
They don't go. Yeah. You've seen.
how
I'm
can you
sure.
sustain it?
Yeah. Do you see any of the like the Russian or Ukrainian Telegram channels that I see that show like effectively the rather gruesome?
Yeah, people they're not saying, "Hey, welcome from the front. We're doing great." They're literally, scavenging for food.
Yeah,
Their
out of the
clothing, their equipment
pockets
is poor.
of out of the pockets of corpses that have been laying there for weeks.
Yeah,
I've never in my life seen more animals eating human bodies
yeah,
in
yeah.
in a war zone. I like it is it's rampant. Like
It's worse than anything. Let me tell you something. You could see that in Iraq. You could see that in
yes,
Iraq. I saw it in Iraq, in Haiti. I mean,
mhm,
you could
it
see
happens.
an animal walking with a daggone arm in their mouth because at the when a significant loss of life takes place, especially in a war zone where you can't exactly go in and clean things up the way that you'd like to. Uh, Sometimes it
Yeah,
just happens, and that's what Russia is dealing with right now. Russia is, they are literally fighting World War I tactics. I mean, they're
yeah,
doing trench warfare, and oh, by the way, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that anytime you have a trench warfare type scenario, you're going to have people that are going to be spending significant periods of time in trenches where they use the bathroom in the trenches, where I mean it just becomes a place of filth. And the majority of people who died during the Civil War and World War I, was because of basically when you get shot, whether it's in an arm or a leg, it don't have to be in the heart or
right.
the head. You could get shot in the butt, but that bullet's going to take a piece of that
Fabric with you.
uniform that you
Yep.
have that has been complete filth for
Right.
months, and it's going to push that into your body. And
Mhm.
that little piece of material, not only is that bullet going to be hazardous, but that little piece of material is deadly.
Yeah.
It's pure deadly.
Yep. It's
And Russia's experienced it.
that's where these infections came from. That's where like and again trench foot like literally the skin coming off your feet and
Yeah.
it like I like it and it like you said it's gonna that kind of stuff happens in every war scenario, especially a protracted one of any sort. What I'm shocked by is the volume, is just the like the Ukrainians came upon a when they were pushing in the south came upon one of the trenches that the Russians had been holding in or whatever, and there had been guys like sent to the front fighting on top of other guys. They were just kind of like they stacked themselves by just falling upon the next guy in the trench, and there were like 3 dead bodies laying on top of each other in myriads of areas where these guys were just kind of clustered together, and then somebody else would come, but the body below it had been there for a month, and the body above it had been there for 2 weeks, and the body on top of it had been there for 5 days, and you could tell by the level of decomp on them. It was just, and it's everywhere along there. And I gotta say, like it's one thing. And for the record, Poo Picker Upper's asking about the and saying congrats on 65K. Very exciting. Like and subscribe, super chats and all that are very welcome. Please help the show. Blah blah blah. Thank you very much. I always forget to do that while I'm doing the show, but hit the like while you're at it. If you feel like it. She's saying, I'm concerned about the House having a hearing with her, that guy. What's your thoughts? I'm not worried about that at all. Waste of fucking time. It's dumb. It's not important. The big story is Alexander Smirnoff, like fucking blowing a giant hole in their stupid narrative about the $5 million bribes and all that kind of stuff. The dude getting arrested. That's the guy who got arrested, Major, who, lied. Yeah. And he was the part of the 1023. Just fucking hilarious. They're going to do anything they can to cover for that part of it. It's not going to do shit. And all this story, by the way, about Biden's age is going to be a month long and won't matter in 2 months. I'm telling you.
It won't. Let me give you a quick rundown. Right now, it is around 6:30, 7 o'clock. No, it's probably around 9 o'clock at night in Ukraine right now. So today, what they lost today was 1,290 troops today.
Jesus Christ.
34 armored personnel carriers. Those are basically tanks without the big gun on the top. So 34 of them. 31 wheeled vehicles. They lost 11 more tanks. They lost 24 artillery systems. An artillery system is the gun, it's the vehicle that pulls the gun, and it's the crew that operates the gun.
Right.
So they lost 24 artillery systems today, 11 UAVs, 2 multiple launch rocket systems. They've lost 4 jet fighters in the last 2 days. They lost another 5 pieces of equipment specialized. So, I mean, this is every day. Right. I mean, I look at this and I think to myself, we would not have tolerated this. When we were in Iraq and Afghanistan, we lost, I think a little over 7,000 troops in Iraq, and we lost over 2,400 troops in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. And, I remember the worst day in Afghanistan was when the CH-47 went down in the Tangi Valley, and the Tangi Valley was the worst place. If you were in the Tangi Valley and you were outside, you were under fire. That's how bad it was. It got to the point, because that was part of our battle space, was that we basically just moved our troops to the entrance and exit of the Tangi Valley, and we left the Tangi Valley alone. But this CH-47 flew right down the center of Tangi Valley, and it ended up I think it was shot out of the sky by an RPG, and it killed like 40-some people. That was the worst day of combat for us, and like 30 of them were Navy SEALs.
Right.
It was a horrible day of loss, and it was one that our government had to look at itself and think, can we continue doing this and sustain it?
Right.
This is every day. A good day for Russia is when they only lose 800. 800 people is a battalion. You're losing a battalion a day. Wow.
Right. And the other thing is, they're losing more than, they're losing about one of those carriers an hour.
Yeah, look at that.
Every hour of the day, 24 hours a day. That's, just fucking madness.
Yeah.
And the idea that, by the way, that that's what stacks on top of Tucker Carlson being there and like walking around the fucking grocery store going, this is amazing. You're like, show me the aisles, motherfucker. Don't show me what you picked up. Don't show me the empty cart and then the full cart and you're paying for your shit. Show me what you had to choose from. Show me the vegetables and the meat and the other stuff that you didn't choose because you were like, right? Which we all do.
Did you get that tactic from North Korea?
Seriously.
Where they always walk around the stuff to show everybody, look at the grocery stores. Ain't a daggone person in them.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's because they're for show and most of the food is plastic.
All show.
Right. Yeah. But it is amazing to me that, I could not, I don't think you could either. I could not do something like that and knowing that the country I was in and that I was going, wow, I've been radicalized against my own country walking around this place, was losing somewhere in the order of 65 human beings an hour.
Yeah.
That day. While he was shooting those beyond, by the way, the deaths from alcoholism, all the other aspects, the shortened lifespan, the fucking 57-year lifespan of the average Russian.
Russia. Yeah. Remember, these are people that start smoking in the 3rd grade.
Right.
I mean that's sadly, life expectancy. But I mean,
Yeah,
this is
Vladimir
how
Putin is 27. I'm kidding.
yeah, yeah, but if you look at what's going to happen. I
Right.
mean, these first and foremost, the Russian troops are experiencing loss,
Yeah.
unlike we've seen since World War II. That's a fact.
Right.
Uh, the wounded in action, you can take the dead and you can times that by 3. So in this case, let's look at literally they lost 400. 1.2 million Russians have probably been wounded
Yeah.
since this thing has started. I mean, the PTSD, what these people are going to be struggling with for decades. Russia's not going to be ready for this. Russia will not be ready for this. This is going to be very ugly. And in the end, I mean, I really believe that this ends when Vladimir Putin is drugged through the friggin' streets of Moscow. I believe that.
I think we all kind of hope so, but don't know what that looks like per se. Whether that's whether he has one of those like fall down the stairs and shit himself moments that he had like a year ago, and that was reported by his special services or whatever. Where they had to change him and all that kind of stuff because of the steroids he was on, and that's why he's all bloated because he's on the MABs, the monoclonal antibody stuff all the time, which is what creates that kind of round face, unless, it's either that or Alex Jones supplements. Those would be the other thing that would cause absolute bloat in your physical person. Tara's hanging in the background, so I'm going to bring her in. I want to thank the Major for coming on. And by the way, I want to remind everybody, go to turnleftpack.org. He's live streaming. We put the link went out in the chat as well. But tune in. Give them your schedule, though, because I've always, everybody's schedule's different.
So everybody, you can follow me also on Ojeda Live on Facebook and YouTube. I do a nightly live at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time every single night. So check us out. Go to turnleftpack.org. Get you an Ojeda Live shirt, or you can get you a nice Trumpaloon, a big Jackaloon t-shirt with Donald Trump or Lauren Boebert. So we've got some good stuff. We got us a Cancun cruise shirt. So go check it out.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much, brother. We'll see you again. Take care of yourself and take everybody around you. And I'll see you in person sometime in the very near future, I hope.
It's happening, brother. It's going to happen, man. I'll see you,
All right.
Everyone.
Thank you so much. Excellent. Okay, cheers. Okay, now I'm going to let me switch out the link here in this thing and swap this in, and then I can bring Tara in. She's waiting in the wings. And then she can deal with my, and I hear her just fine. And I think, let's see. I'll just put her in this one. It should go straight for it. That's good. And ladies and gentlemen, here she is. Daredevil. Oh, she's wearing the long white limo from, is that Foo Fighters limo? That's very nice.
This is the limited edition Foo Fighters white limo t-shirt. They only made like 200 of these or something.
You're very special. I'm sure.
I have a little bit of a cold upon my chest, a little under the weather, but I'm here for you. I'm here for everybody. I don't have a fever, but I have a little bit of that Brenda Vaccaro for tampons voice going.
It's kind of nice.
A little bit.
I got to say, it works.
Every so often, I might do a little Michael Corleone after the broken jaw. Might do one of these every often, just to make sure I'm not disgusting anybody.
No, I appreciate that.
Unintentionally this time.
Hi. So much going on. So much. Let's start with because have we spoken since? Well, yeah, the Alexander Smirnoff thing kind of broke and carried through on the week, but I just I'm not. There's not
a lot
day
has happened since last Monday.
Yes,
starting with the Sparks bump for the Sound of Settling, because your audience that put me over 500.
Oh,
over 500. Because last Monday I was at like 486, I think. And by Wednesday it was closer. And yeah, by Valentine, I sold my 500th copy on Valentine's Day.
Nice.
So yeah, and I love you guys so much. Thank you so much. The problem is that every time I promote the Sound of Settling at towerdublinrocks.com, there's a small segment of your audience who goes in and writes shitty things under my book. and one of them did an anti-Semitism under my book, and I've reported that to Amazon today. So that's fun. And what they're doing,
we do have trolls.
cleverly,
we have trolls, and I usually warn them. And some of we even have like regular trolls or whatever. But it's again, this is the area where they can be diffused largely. When they spread out into the rest of the internet, that's what worries me or whatever. But like my chat, my room, and I certainly can take it. But
my skin is plenty thin. But the problem is that my book has nothing to do with politics, and it would be great if people would just let me have a livelihood. They can't do it. They can't do that. Like if I wrote a book about Trump and being the MAGA block queen, and wrote about how all of the terrible stuff that happened to me since 2015, and I wrote a memoir about that, and that got big, I would understand people swarming that book and being like, no, that didn't happen, you're just a liberal, This has nothing to do with that. And for someone to come into my rock and roll love story and be like, Tara's got a low Jewish voice, or whatever they said, fuck them. It's just, I get why you're doing it, you stupid bullies, but I mean, your stupid bullying just makes you look like bigger stupid bullies.
Yeah,
so
it's a very curious thing. I think this is the internet factor. Yeah, I think it's the internet factor of just like people who used to be like a social pariah and still are in their own towns, families, local circumstances, can, through the tentacles of the interwebs, they can find connections before. Like when you and I post something on social media and if it only gets like 50 to 100 hits or whatever, we're like, oh, that was more. They put something out and they're like, 50 to 100 people believe what I believe. That's right. No one says that. No one's got the guts to say it. Even if 80 of the 100 are trolls, or fake fake bot accounts or whatever. It doesn't matter.
2007 with 14 tweets or whatever. Yeah, it's
right.
Also stupid. It's I wish that people could just let each other live to have a livelihood. And is there a man more brave than a keyboard warrior? No, because if not when Nazis are marching, but with masks on. So brave. You're all so fucking brave.
Right.
So, the difference between getting bullied in the 6th grade and getting bullied online is that it happened to me in person in the 6th grade. Now people did it to my face. And here they're just like, oh, you're the ugliest cunt I've ever seen. Well, if I'm the ugliest you've ever seen, then you need to get out more because I'm adorable.
I agree.
But when they have a bad day, they scapegoat us. And they've been having a series of they had a really bad week because Donald Trump barely after being popped for 83.3 million, which would have just been 5 million if he had a decent lawyer, but no, Alina Hobbit the Jut, no. 400, it's like over 400 million between him and the 2 large stupid adult sons, and every single day that collects interest on it not being paid. So it's essentially he owes $500 million in just these 2 cases, which he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that. And to appeal that, he doesn't have that. Apparently, this is all our fault. It's all our fault that they're going after him. And there's a fake, there's a fraudulent
I will take the
GoFundMe.
blame. I will take the blame.
I'm nobody's fucking scapegoat, though, and I'm nobody's whipping girl, and neither is Fonnie Willis, and neither is Letitia James. And the fact that they are twisting themselves into racist conspiracy pretzels because black women are ending the fraudulent reign of Donald Trump, that's what it's all about. That's what all of this internet bullying is about. That's what all of this bullshit is about. Their loser is on a stage at SneakerCon with his spray painted gold shoes, selling those to help pay his bill. He's fucked everywhere you turn. There is no more. He has gone through the maze, and he's in the part of the maze where he's going to freeze to death next to Jack Nicholson, because at the point now, he's already grifted over $50 million just for his legal bills from his base. And he now has a decision to make. He can't afford to appeal these 2 most recent decisions, the one from Engeron and the one regarding E. Jean. He can't afford to appeal them. At the same time, he's got to run a presidential campaign, and he can't afford to pay for that either. So he's going to have to make a choice. Right. Where's his focus? He's unfocused because he's a sundowning, gibbering idiot right now.
Sure.
But
there's that. Yeah.
But if he's, I mean, and there's a GoFundMe out there for him that's like, drop in the bucket, which they'll have to get rid of because they can't use a GoFundMe for this. But anyway, in all seriousness, there's a great, I tweeted it earlier this morning. There's a great opinion piece from MSNBC.
Right.
Like, this isn't even the worst for him. The worst is yet to come.
Yeah. Sorry. We should have.
Kimberly Troutmouth. Kimmy Gold Digger. Dug into the wrong family for the gold. Kimmy Gold Digger. Oh my God. Oh my God.
To come.
Too? Holy shit.
The worst. Okay. And then I've got to dance. Put the music on.
Oh my God. Put those kidneys up front and center. You paid a lot of money for them. Kimmy Gold Digger gets paid $180K a year to make herself look like
all filler, all killer. Come on now.
It's all filler. It's all filler so Junior can pretend he's soft banging his stepmommy. And nobody loves me. Let's do another rail off your kidneys. They're all fucked. They're all screwed. And so anyway.
Terrible.
To get worse for him. There is no getting better. And I would, like, you want to be in a cult, that's your business. You want to pretend this isn't happening, that's fine. Stop with the false equivalencing between Trump and Joe Biden. Just today, in the year of our Lord 2024, I had a woman tell me, a liberal woman, that Joe Biden and Donald Trump are the same. It's what? It's not. It's not even. What's similar? They're both made from DNA and where occasionally wear suits. What you got?
The Jon Stewart factor. That's the Jon Stewart factor. That's that.
Damn him! What did he do last? Well, I'm mad. I'm mad at Jon Stewart for what he did last Monday. That's not okay. It's not okay to both sides anymore. You can't Trumpify Joe Biden, Jon Stewart.
Quite literally, he ended up as one person doing what he chastised Crossfire for doing back in the day. He engaged in the comedic equivalent of pro wrestling for the sake of lulz, and they were literally. Now again, there may be a strategy behind, because I think John is a good man, although I think his weird shit about the vaccine and Wuhan and all that kind of stuff, which was also a big bump, that was a little awkward and weird when he was on Colbert doing that stuff. Like, dude, that's not the point. The point isn't that Wuhan was where the viral lab was and all that kind of stuff. The question isn't, did it start in China? Of course it did. It's not even a question that it was in the lab at some point. The question is the soft conspiracy of, did they let it out on purpose, or did they let it out did they let a real virus that was natural out on accident, or did they create one, release it on purpose, pretending to release it on accident? That's the soft conspiracy around the lab leak theory and listen to me, the lab leak theory. And by talking about the whole, it's the Wuhan virology, like, yes, asshole, we know that's the point. The point isn't that. It's the soft conspiracy about, they did it on purpose. They released it themselves just to kill other people. Ask RFK Jr., because it was obviously the Chinese and the Ashkenazi Jews trying to kill all the black people and Irish people in the world. Wow!
I mean, seriously, go like this. Just twist yourself in more of a conspiracy pretzel while you're doing that bullshit. Why can't you just go, hey, a disease got out that was really fucking scary, and everybody was very scared they were gonna die from it. Fortunately, we, eventually got a Democrat in office who fucking did something to save lives, because it's convenient how everybody forgets that back in February and March of 2020, Donald Trump was telling everybody it would disappear like a miracle, and it wasn't that bad, but privately he told Bob Woodward this shit is bad.
Yeah.
So, we can all forget, but like, the both sides and the false equivalence and all, like, Joe is just like Trump. Fuck you, John. No, he's not.
No.
He's 81.
Yeah.
So is Mick Jagger.
Oh, for fuck's sake. And by the way, the article that Ezra Klein wrote, about, that, the Dems need to cut loose from Joe and blah, blah, blah. There's like a paragraph in there. You know how I always talk about the yeah buts? I want everybody to remember that anytime you see a headline, the third paragraph is always the yeah but. unless the article you're reading is from a newspaper that is printed in color, in which case it will be the 5th or the 7th, because they make smaller paragraphs to make them bite-sized, because a paper in color is for a different audience than a black and white paper. There you go. And if the paper itself is a color, like in and of itself, like the Financial Times, the whole paper is pink or something like that, then it will be like it'll be halfway through the first paragraph, because it's just giant chunks of prose. They expect you to read the whole thing. But paragraph 3 is always the yeah, but. And in Ezra Klein's yeah, but, he goes, I talked to everybody in the staff, even ones that disagree, that are mad at Biden over the Palestinian stuff. They don't like him. So they have every reason to go, fuck, jettison this old asshole, blah, blah, blah. And all of them were begrudgingly going, yeah, no, he's sharp as a tack. He knows what he's talking about or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, he makes real decisions. All of his decisions are sound. He's making them. Yeah. I just agree with the policy, but it's not because he's slipping. That's
You're allowed to disagree with the president. That's part of your First Amendment rights as an American citizen. You're allowed to disagree with anybody, but to purposefully put out a false narrative that he's some doddering, senile old, hey, Paul, here's the buffet line. That's Trump.
Right.
And to try to Trump, I've been saying it since the 2020 campaign. You cannot Trumpify Joe Biden. They are not the same.
Right.
In any way, except they stand in human male form and occasionally both wear suits. Joe Biden's suit just happens to fit him because there's not a giant diaper underneath it. And he also knows how to tie a tie. So, when you put up a list of Biden achievements, there's always going to be someone who says, well, that's fake. No, I will always go back to the actual White House. You don't like the media. You don't trust the media. That's your problem. Donald Trump helped you get there. It's coming directly from the White House. If you want a conspiracy pretzel of the White House, I can't help you. I can't help you believe things that are true. I can't help you get your head out of the sand if that's how you're choosing to live. But it is incumbent upon the MSM, whether they like it or not, to report truthfully as to what's happening. And I'm going to keep going back to Joyanne, because Joyanne keeps inviting Charlemagne the God on her show, and they keep going, oh, Biden's bad for black people, and all black people hate Joe Biden. No, they don't. No. Look how black women are advocating for both Joe and Kamala. Please look at the reality. Please.
First of all, his opponent, you talk about this, we talk about this a lot, but if you're ever confronted with a choice that you believe is the lesser of two evils, choose less evil, because what the fuck are you talking about? And the difference between a serial killer and a pickpocket, in terms of the lesser of two evils, is extraordinary. That said, Donald Trump and his acolytes literally drove 2 black women out of their homes with death threats. They had to sue Rudy Giuliani for money they probably aren't going to see, just to relocate, just to change their fucking identity, essentially, because they will live the rest of their fucking lives looking over their shoulder, waiting for some maggot to come up and dust them the fuck off. There is nothing even remotely in that category coming from Biden. Fuck
of course not.
Off with that shit.
Democrats don't have to threaten anybody to win anything.
Yeah.
We do
Ask
not do
Ruby
that.
Freeman and Shane Moss. Jon Stewart should have Ruby Freeman and Shane Moss on and ask them the difference between Joe Biden and Donald fucking Trump. Here's another thing, and this is kind of good news. We'll cheer things up, because I will get fucking I'll get all
Stewart should have me on. Why don't you have me on, John, and I can talk about how much I've been harassed since 2015, and not from Democrats. Democrats didn't threaten my life or threaten my children or harass me from their official congressional website like Matt Gaetz did. No, none of that. Democrats don't need to do that.
Right. Our ideas are good enough. We stand by
our
plans and ideas. Meanwhile, if I may,
deep bench of good guys. What does that say?
This is pretty hilarious. This says, former President Donald Trump is quietly selling properties under the shadow of legal setbacks. This is the whole, I got plenty of cash sitting around. Okay, you know why?
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, you know why he thinks he does? Because they've been selling properties. And those properties, he sold for cash because he had to get out of them, and he's going to take this fucking money, and they're paying their legal bills with it. So This is
The
former
game
President
of three-card Monty never stops.
Totally.
The shell game. Boom, 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 boom. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. Da-da-da.
Suzanne Craig from the New York Times revealed startling details during an interview on MSNBC's The Weekend. According to Craig, Trump has been gradually liquidating his real estate holdings, possibly in a bid to stockpile cash. This revelation comes in the wake of the $450 million judgment and the $83 million due to E. Jean Carroll. With limited access to traditional banking options, he finds himself in a precarious situation. That's the other thing, too, is he has to put up a fucking bond if he wants to appeal the New York decision.
He no guts.
Nope.
Tumbleweeds in that bank account. He's got. I'm gonna go Robert De Niro as Al Capone. He got nothing. They got nothing.
He's got a pair of dumb shoes, though, which sold out in an afternoon. By the way, money laundering and people who are like, looking for a hilarious talking point. Because I got to say, if the money didn't go to him, me having a pair of those fucking shoes to go, man, remember this asshole? Remember they actually,
Why don't you just go to Payless and get some gold spray paint? Because that's what they did.
Yep, exactly.
And they're going to turn it around and grift people for thousands of dollars because he's holding up some fucking stupid gold painted shoes. There's another thing you're never going to see Joe Biden doing. Joe Biden is never going to have to show up at SneakerCon and get booed off the stage hawking shitty made in China shoes to pay for his life. Never Joe Biden will be that desperate. Ever, never, never. And it's embarrassing. It shows you how abnormal. Here's the other thing. Here's an adjudicated rapist, criminal fraud, going out and begging for money. Saying that NATO should just be blown up and that nobody should help Ukraine. And Putin's awesome. He's saying all of these things right now over this past weekend. Still saying all of those things.
Yep.
And there are people who are still like, yep, he's my guy. That's my guy.
Yeah, I mean,
how compromised is the Republican Party?
Agreed. And I would also, I will say that is a dwindling number. And a lot of the people, again, even on the Republican side, we've talked about the potential for compromise on a bunch of these folks being the reason why he's got a short leash on some of them. But the other ones, quite frankly, they had a conversation with the RNC head from one of the states where he was like, he was one of the fake electors. And he was like, I literally signed up for this shit because if I was the reason he didn't become president, they would have hunted me the fuck down and my family's in danger. I was scared for my life if I didn't sign on to this scheme, which is reasonable.
Hey, it says Major Ojeda under my name.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
I'm a major deal, but I'm not.
You are a major deal. Hold on. Yes, you are, Tara. Sorry. There you go. Boink.
And that's not my website, but that's okay.
I'll get there. Hold on.
Boink. It should say TaraDublinRocks.com under my name. Can you make that
That's a great idea. Okay.
It's a great idea.
I can do that. Hold on. Let's go back up.
While we're dealing with that, we can continue to point out that Trump is broke as fuck. And that's the big important message to keep pushing out into the world because he's not a successful businessman. Never has been. Never will be. He's not allowed to run a business or any other entity in New York City or state for the next 3 years. Something tells me he won't make it 3 years anyway. And the two large dumb adult sons can't do it for 2 years. So I don't know how any of them are earning a living to live on. And then the other thing is he wants to install his daughter-in-law, Florence Foster Jerkins, Laura Lee Trump, the singing menace. He wants her to be the co-RNC chair. Ronna Romney's not doing it anymore because Ronna Romney said, you can't pay your lawyer with our money. We're not doing that. Yeah. So that's why he's gotten Ronna out of the way.
I'm for it. I think she's the perfect person to run it. And anything that diverts money from getting Republicans elected into this asshole's coffers that go down his gullet and out his ass in the toilet that he has facing classified documents in his shitter.
He doesn't put the lid down when he flushes because he's disgusting.
Oh, God.
I don't, honestly, if all of this stuff had come out about him in 2015, I would love to believe it would have mattered. Really, really and truly, because no one did enough digging back then because they thought he was an entertaining buffoon who would drop out quickly like he did in 2012. And before then. And also go back and notice that he didn't start talking about running for president until after meeting Vladimir Putin. Isn't that interesting?
Oh,
because
yeah.
the Russians know how to play the long game.
Fucking
Right?
Taibbi and his
Russians
zine in Russia back in the day, like they all start there. I don't know why it is. I don't. It's so fucking weird. But a bunch of these, they all.
Navalny, how they work. Let's talk
Yep.
about Navalny and how the Russians operate. They can keep Tucker Carlson, but he needs to start checking his tea for polonium every morning.
Yeah.
And he needs to be
me.
careful passing any open windows. I mean, he's welcome to stay, Comrade Carlson. Make it more obvious that you're on your knees for Putin, you fucking traitor.
Well, the weird thing was that Putin shit on him during the interview, and then afterwards made a joke about him on the news there, and was basically going, "I was ready for tough questions, but he was too much of a wuss to go." It was hilarious.
Tough questions. He doesn't ask tough questions because he's not smart, and he doesn't know how to do follow-up questions because he's a fucking juvenile, privileged bully.
Well, I would argue that part of it is audience capture, and what he needs to make money is that the whole Tucker Carlson network is really going after that Daily Wire crowd that doesn't, that because Ben Shapiro's too supportive of Israel or actually thinks we should support Ukraine. There's a chunk of the Daily Wire crowd that, and they're largely bots, whatever, are in look of, in search of someplace to go. Same thing with there's always a disgruntled chunk of like a extremist, too extreme for the old show. What can we find a breakout of from somebody? And it's the Jimmy Dore crowd that broke off from TYT because they weren't as villainous at some point. Like at the last second, they were like, "You should probably not vote for Trump." I don't know. The young terrorists seem to, flush him in that direction. The same thing with he's more like Russell Brand chasing, a softer version of the Alex Jones dollar. The idea that they can see the writing on the wall and Alex Jones's shitty health and all the situation that he's running into is that they're like, what if maybe I could scoop up his audience when he collapses? And so they're jockeying to be in that position. In the same way DeSantis was jockeying to be the next Trump. It's the same kind of thing. I mean, look, the rest of this article that Jennifer Craig was talking about, she goes, he won't be able to go to banks and get a loan. This is to pay back the money that he owes. While he was president and since he left office, I think a lot of people, when they think of Donald Trump's banking relationships, think of Deutsche Bank, which has done so much with him. What a lot of people don't know is that in recent years, Deutsche Bank has exited the scene. In fact, another thing that was not noticed, I think, during his presidency, there's so much going on, is that Donald Trump has been shrinking his financial holdings. He sold the old post office building, which is, by the way, where it was the only deal, I think, that the Junior and Eric had a piece of. And that's why they owe $4 million. That's the ill-gotten gains from the $400 million sale of that building. They got 1%, right? Or from that, like he gave his kids 1% a piece. Like
he's such a piece of shit.
Oh God.
Honestly.
Right. And they have to give it back. That's ill-gotten gains from him not deserving this loan.
They don't have it. The way they live and with their lavish Mar-a-Lago parties, they're literally dancing while the Titanic is sinking. That's what.
Yes,
every night there's a party at Mar-a-Lago.
Right. He sold the operating lease to a golf course he had in New York, which is again another one of his branding exercises. This is where he thinks his brand is worth all this fucking money because he sells his way out of places. He's also been quietly selling condominiums around New York and buildings he owned. He sold a house he owned in L.A., which, by the way, he never lived in. It was an owner, rental property or some shit like that. It was just
every building in New York, the rental properties, they've taken his name off the building.
Yes,
already.
Well, that was the other thing too, is that there was an article about how hard it is for people to sell their condos because they've been wanting to get out of that building for a long time, but and it's lowering the price of the condos in the area because in real estate, they don't go, it's the Trump factor. And nope, it's the cost of condos in the area goes down based on whatever you can get for one. And so if you can buy one of his, who gives a fuck what the label on the outside of the building is? That's the cost of a condo in the area. That's out for tax purposes and for appraisement. And if he's driving the appraisals down in the area, that affects everybody in the buildings in that borough or in that area.
But he built the skyline. He built that city.
Jesus Christ.
I can't even believe that. Eric and his giant flapping gums on TV going, my father built the New York City skyline. And this is... No, he fucking did not. He had nothing to do with the skyline. And in fact, he bragged that Trump Tower was the tallest building in New York after 9/11. Shut your entire fucking mouth.
Yeah, it's so gross. But this is a, this is a, a thing like his. I'll show you, this is kind of funny. Okay, so Trump himself, he was selling. He got booed in Philadelphia at SneakerCon, which is just fucking embarrassing. The fact that he had to be there at SneakerCon, like, I get it. He slaps his name on fucking anything, but Don couldn't be there. Eric couldn't fucking be there. Like, somebody else couldn't fill in for you. It's just fucking weird.
Nobody else is a draw. That's the other thing. They don't have a deep
But he wasn't
bench.
a draw either. He got booed. That's the point.
No, but that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. They couldn't send anybody else because it would have been even worse.
Right.
So that's why they send him. He goes, and this is going to keep happening to him. His crowds are going to keep dwindling as they try to come up with a spin for, this is an exclusive event open to only this amount. No, shut the fuck up. Only 30 people are going to show up for him. No matter, your rooms are going to get smaller to make the crowds look bigger. It's not going to work, though. I mean, math is math. That's the woke math we like, right? That's you can't deny. So that's where they're heading. And meanwhile, Ivanka's not going out to stump for him, right? She's glaringly missing from all of this, which is really interesting considering that her husband took $2 billion from the Saudi murderers.
Right.
So, I'd like to see some consequences for Javanka also. That'd be sweet. Right. But I'm also guessing that she got herself a nice sweetheart immunity deal because she was like, oh yeah, my brothers did this and my dad did that and my husband did this and I'm a perfect princess. You can't get anything on me, which is not true. She's as much of an asshole as the rest of them. So.
You know what I love? I'm a big fan of. I think sneakers that say "Where's Melania" on them would be hilarious. But
those would sell fucking big. Biden needs to merchandise those.
Yeah. So
maybe "Where's Melania" on one side, and then like what who's the Scientologist's wife who's always missing?
Miscavige or Miscavige. Yeah.
Miscavige, his wife, and then put that one on the other side of the shoe because there's a lot of MAGA who are also Scientologists because one cult isn't enough. And so they want to know where she is, his wife is. Right. And then so we put that on one side of the shoe along with "Where's Melania" on the other, and then Biden 2024 on the heel. Right. That'd be a top seller. That'd be a top seller right there.
Well, you want to see, one of the things I love is something that looks bad, but is actually great. And that's, I'm a big fan of those things. I mean, maybe it's the rebel in me. Portland people will understand this. Things that often look bad to outsiders, but are actually great. And this is one of the things. Look at this article from Newsweek. This is.
Newsweek already is bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Donald Trump's golden sneakers selling for $7,500. Now,
who is that fucking stupid that has that kind of disposable income?
Okay. It doesn't matter. The point is, this is on auction sites and on eBay and shit. Like, people are eBaying these things. Okay, what's the upside of this? What's the upside of this? Is that they might because it's a short run. They didn't make that many of them. That's the whole point. Whatever, they're a limited run, so you sell them for $400. This is how people try to garner money and then act all fucking, like they're loaded. And yes,
it's the Kanye model, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's all bullshit. But here's the great thing. Trump might have gotten half or maybe 30% of the $399, right? Because he gets the shoe company that gave him the branding deal or whatever, you only get a slather off the top. Even all of Kanye's deal, even his $1 billion deal, that Kanye had this $1 billion clothing deal. There are I would argue that the clothing company itself was planning on making $5 billion over the course of a decade with them or whatever, and they would slowly roll that out depending on sales. So again, whatever the big number is, it's what the people actually doing the work and creating the brand and all that kind of stuff are. And it's, by the way, about $1 billion in sales. So I would argue that even Kanye's deal was about they're going to sell $1 billion worth of shoes, but he doesn't get that piece, right? So this is awesome for a very specific reason, because Donald Trump gets, let's say, 30% of the $399. He gets none of the money from these eBay sales.
Of course not.
And
they'll go to the seller.
He's going to be grinding his fucking teeth about it at one of his, at an upcoming rally. He's going to go, people are selling those for $7,500. They should give me a piece of that. You're going to hear him say that to somebody because he's going to, and if he mentions it loosely once, that means he's fucking this the rest of the time. And he's mad at Eric and Don for doing this shit and only ended up with we should have fucking made these ourselves and we could have sold them for $7,000 a piece. You're like, asshole.
No, you can't though.
No.
I mean, you're selling them for $400. After someone buys them, you have no control over what they do with it. And they buy it for $400 and then they make a profit on eBay.
Yeah.
That's out of your tiny gropey hands there, Paw. There's nothing you can do about it. You have no rights once it's sold.
Right. But that's what's going to drive him crazy. So I enjoy this.
Good.
I think this is a lovely thing.
I like the gold lining you found. See, it's not even silver; it's gold lining.
Yeah, it's good. It's obviously spray painted.
Silver lining, it's bronze lining, it's platinum lining. I don't know. Anything that makes him angry and makes him sleep even less, I'm fine with.
That's exactly.
I'm fine with that. There's also going to have to be seriously a moment of reckoning, which I mentioned earlier, where he is going to be faced with the impossible choice of save face by continuing to run this campaign or save face by trying to beat all of these legal problems. He cannot afford to do both. Right. He can't. And even if he installs his daughter-in-law at the RNC, there's only a certain amount of money he's going to be able to grift from them. There's not going to be enough money to cover both things. Either your legal ego or your presidential campaign ego. You're going to have to choose one, tiny hands. So it'll be interesting to see which one he chooses. If I'm any non-MAGA member of the Republican Party, I'm making phone calls to people who are major Republican donors, and they're saying, we need to find somebody else. We need to find somebody else yesterday. Because when it comes down to it, he's going to save his own ass. Yes. We've said this repeatedly on this show. He is not a take one for the team guy. He's going to take everyone down with him that he can. And that's going to spill over into his supporters in Congress. So if I'm a Leonard Leo, God forbid, first of all, I'm listening to John Oliver trying to get Clarence Thomas out with an offer of $1 million and a van you can live in down by the river or something. But if I'm a serious Republican backer and I want my policies continuing to be implemented on the national stage, I'm getting rid of that fucko because he is not going to be able to perform your job that you want. And regardless of everything else that's going on with him legally, he's bankrupt, he's this, he's sundowning, he's got dementia, maybe he has syphilis, all of those things. He cannot sit there for 2 terms. So you need to find somebody.
That is a big factor in the Nikki Haley crowd. Let's listen. I don't know. Let me see if we can hear this.
A lot of emotion. There's a lot of emotion in this room. Thank you. So the really nice thing is,
he's saying a lot of emotion because people are booing him. And there's a bunch of
and they're not chanting "fuck Joe Biden" for a change. They're chanting "let's go Biden" for a change.
Yeah, exactly.
We have lines, and I want to thank Chase and I want to thank Alan. But we have.
Boo! Get the fuck off the stage, you loser!
And by the way,
the only thing missing were the tomatoes being thrown at him and his own old shoes.
He's afraid of pineapples. He's afraid of people throwing pineapples. I'll have to find that
because people often conceal a pineapple because they're easy to conceal and carry in your pocket. He's such a fucking moron. He can't. There is nothing he can do correctly. Nothing. Actually, I take that back. The only thing that he does well is con people out of money. He has made a lifetime career.
Because I will say, again, it's weird that you and I, oddly enough, care more about your average maggot than he does. Because even though I don't like a lot of them, and they're mean-spirited and gross and all that kind of shit, I ultimately
they don't want us to have nice things.
Yes, I do ultimately want them to be alive and healthy, and I would rather argue with someone than just hope they pass away or some shit.
We don't wish death on anyone. That's not how we roll.
Nope, not at all. And so, Bicycle Mike says they're up to 9,000 on eBay. And the higher the number, the better, because it's more money he's not seeing, and it's going to make him angry. So good.
Yeah, but that's somebody else who's out 10 grand who could have spent it on something better, unless they turn around and do something else with it.
And they're going to sit on it because it'll be, I mean, it's a bizarre moment in American history. It's a ridiculous marker of it. The people who used to, buy Beanie Babies have some money sitting around, I suppose, and they'll buy these and they're like, I have a pair of Trump sneakers and I'm hanging on to them until the rest of the idiots who are actually going to wear them or whatever lose them or what have you. It's just silly. But the point is that, Steve Bannon, for example, with his fake build the wall shit, was scamming maggots out of money for this ploy to build the wall on private land he had absolutely no right or ability to do. It was an absolute scam. He was sent to jail for it, and he was ordered to jail for it, and Donald Trump pardoned him for the crime of stealing from maggots. If that of all the things
but they
that
don't
you
get
and I,
that.
right, but of all the things that you and I think are 100 reasons why Donald Trump is someone that should be nowhere near the presidency and is not trustworthy and is totally gross and all this kind of stuff, you would think the one thing that might resonate with your average maggot is that this motherfucker pardoned somebody who was scamming only you guys. He wasn't scooping up cash from he hadn't found some way to corral. He didn't set up a fake blue, vote blue no matter who site and was scamming from Democrats at all.
He was stupid fuckers.
Yeah, singularly and only stealing from maggots. And Donald Trump pardoned him.
So let's ask your trolls in your chat right now. How do they feel about that?
Right.
Fact.
Yeah.
That is an indisputable fact, just like his court calendar of 91 civil and criminal charges are fact. He committed those crimes. He did those things. He points his little tiny fingers at everybody else, but it's him. It always comes back to bite him. It might take a while, but it always comes back. He is at the center of all of it, and everyone's dancing around that. So I would ask those people who come here and listen to us telling the truth, not because it benefits us in any way, but because it benefits the country as a whole, to know the truth and believe it. The ugliest truth is still better than the world's most beautiful lie. It's still better because it's real. And I'm sorry that, if anybody needs a crutch of any kind to lean on to help them live in a world where they don't like the truth, I feel badly for you, but please listen to me when I say, I have nothing to gain by telling you the truth. No one is paying me to tell you the truth. Literally, I don't have a job writing about politics yet. I still don't. I am here to tell you that Joe Biden cares about you and your livelihood, and Donald Trump does not. He only cares if you send him money. If you don't send him money, you are useless to him. Listen to the way he speaks about the people who have disappointed him or have shown disloyalty or anything like that, when he demands loyalty but doesn't return it, when he makes promises and never comes through. Look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. We all joke about it, but the facts are the facts. And that she bragged about plotting January 6th before she was sworn into office because she was promised a pardon that she never got. And she remains loyal to him for a reason that is not a good reason. It's not a good reason, okay? He's got something over her, or something that could hurt her children, or something that could be potentially embarrassing, or he owns her financially, or someone above him named Vladimir Putin owns her financially, or whatever it is. These are all true things we're telling you. We're not doing this for shits and giggles. And we're also not doing this to make your lives any harder or make you feel bad. We don't do what bullies do. Bullies take things that we love and make fun of us for loving them. And that's how they bully us. And that's what they do. And in return, all I ever do is respond with the truth. You can say whatever you want. You can say I'm ugly. You can say my glasses are dumb. You can say I have a crooked nose. You can call me a Jew, whatever. It doesn't change the fact that
I don't
Donald
know.
Trump
Jew whatever
you.
Seems a little vague. I mean, honestly.
Well, I mean, if you want specifics, I can show you screenshots. Jew.
No,
bitch,
no.
Jew
I'm just
whore.
saying. I'm just criticizing their the quality of what they're saying.
Because if you're not going to mature beyond a second grade level, then I'm not going to give you my best in response. But what I will tell you is the truth. You know, you don't have to like it. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Prior to this whole Trump poisoning you into believing fake news is fake when it's bad about him, every other news is real, you know. And I always use the example of, if you're watching, let's just say MSNBC, because you are, and there's a story about a flood with real footage of the flood, you believe that just fine. The next story is Joe Biden, you know, I don't know, relieving student debt into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. You don't want to believe that, though, because that's a good story about Joe Biden. And then there's a story about Donald Trump being an adjudicated rapist, and you really don't want to believe that because it makes him look bad. All of these on the same news broadcast. You cannot decide what's real and what's fake based on your feelings, and the fuck your feelings crowd saying that shit
It's
to
very
us.
feely about it.
More projection. More projection. We're
I'll
not
show you
here
another
to hurt
example.
you, kids.
Right. I'll show you another example of this kind of stuff. There's this guy, is Jesse Benton, I think it was. This guy was, he was indicted for funneling Russian money into Trump's campaign in 2016.
I feel like that matters. That should matter a whole fuckload.
He was on, he was like, I guess, awaiting sentencing on this when he started another crime, but Trump pardoned him. Trump pardoned a guy who was busted for funneling, and it's not even a question. Like, the guy was he took $100,000 from this Russian oligarch. He gave $25,000 of it to the campaign, kept $75,000 for himself, and then doled out some of the rest of it to other people that they don't go into. It's odd because some of them are still in office, and I think that might be the ongoing investigation part of it. Curious. But so this guy, I mean, this isn't even a question. This actually happened. This guy was indicted. He was found guilty, and he specifically took Russian money and gave a chunk of it to a sizable, the kind of stuff that peaks the meter and allows you to go to the fancy pants dinners. $25,000 is how you buy one of these tables at one of these big fundraisers. Where bundlers go. And a bundler is somebody who gets together a bunch of people who give the minimum 25, or the maximum $2,500 per person, and they get a 10-person table, $25,000 from that table. That's where that chunk comes from. This dude did it by himself, and then gave out the seats apparently at this whole thing. All right, so this guy, right, Jesse Benton, 2012,
not a fake story. This
not
is
a
real
fake
news,
story,
real
nothing.
truth.
Yes, he worked for Ron Paul. Ron Paul's AstroTurf campaign was paid for by the Russians as well. We can go into that some other day. But
man, fucking Rand Paul is a traitorous bitch box of Ogilvy home perm. I fucking hate Rand Paul.
So that's
so
this guy.
So bad.
Right? This, and this is, this has been, this indictment came down. They busted him for it. He was convicted, and Trump had pardoned him for this. And then they go back.
That's treason.
Yes, yeah. Let's see if I can. Oh, that's just the.
And so what happened to that guy?
Well, that guy. The interesting thing was, Trump pardoned him when he was leaving office, but he hadn't been busted for the Russian money yet. He pardoned him for funneling Russian money into Ron Paul's campaign, which he had done. So, so the interesting thing is that Trump knew he had done this, knew it was illegal, but he hadn't been charged with it yet. So he wrote this kind of blanket pardon for something the fucker hadn't outrun the statute of limitations, and certainly hadn't been found guilty of at that point, and basically wrote him a pardon as a thank you note for the Ron Paul shit that he was engaged in. And so he got off scot-free, and he and his buddy got away with it. Oh, you would you put
Duke is here.
Hi, Duke.
Duke is here for
his Duke, we'll have some
cameo.
Fun. Duke of oil.
He is.
Yeah.
Duke.
So this guy, it's so good.
Loves me.
Guy, this is a great example of this. Trump pardoned this guy who smuggled Russian money into his campaign. But because he hadn't been charged for that yet, the pardon only really covered his stuff with Ron Paul. and I guess he was involved in Rand Paul's as well, his campaign.
I'm not surprised to hear that.
But that was that guy. That guy didn't invent the fucking wheel for Trump. He didn't invent smuggling Russian money into an account. This was this guy's fucking gig, and he did this with with Ron Paul and Rand Paul. And so Trump, in a thank you for the 25 grand plus, and by the way, this is the amount we know about, right? There's still an ongoing part of this investigation that could stack where he gave it to the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the whomevers, or even more to the Trump campaign through other sources, or that he gave it to super PACs, and that's not covered in some of this shit or whatever. But it's still illegal, but blah, blah, blah. They haven't gotten to it yet. But the point is, he pardoned this asshole so that he could, as a thank you, as like, for that money.
Yeah.
And then this guy got arrested and indicted after Trump left office. Now, here's the problem with Trump's pardons, besides the fact that they were criminal and a lot of people paid for them. They were written with crayons and hammers. They were stupid. They were rubber stamps.
Mm-hmm.
And so they didn't go into the details of, well, this particular person's been adjudicated and they say they were innocent of these charges and they do not cop to them, or they do say that they did it, but they believe that they've shown, contrition in this, and that they will be a better person of society, person in society. There's different pardons about those kind of things. Like you have a different kind of pardon, right? And the one, like the pardon where you're like, I did it and I feel bad for doing it, was apparently the rubber stamp that they used with the Trump crowd. What's the problem with that pardon? Well, that pardon is admissible as in court as evidence of past behavior, just like a conviction. If you're not found guilty of something, they can't bring in, if you were charged with domestic violence but you weren't, and then you end up killing your ex or something like that, they can't bring in the domestic violence charge unless you were convicted of it, because it might be prejudicial about whether you did it or not. And people might think that, whether you may not have done it, and so they might think you would because of this charge of, like, you guys had an argument at a bar and it went crazy and she smacked you and blah blah blah, and never worked it out, but they never went through with it. So they kind of keep those things out. And when somebody writes one of the pardons that says, I didn't do anything, I've been saying I've been innocent this whole time, and they commute the sentence and they say, we believe that they did, maybe they'll get a new trial or something like that, but we think they should be pardoned and that kind of. Yes, accepting a pardon is an admission of guilt. There is a version of that. There's also a version, though, that says this person, we believe this person was a miscarriage of justice, and that for mitigating reasons they were not guilty, and that can be in there. All the Trump ones were, yeah, I fucking did it, fuck it, whatever, because Trump lives like that. So all these motherfuckers that went through there said, I was guilty, but fuck you. And including this asshole, including Jesse Benton.
Right.
Jesse Benton kept a criming.
Of course he did.
And then, because he let him off for the Rand Paul shit, when they got around to charging him for the Trump stuff, they were able to walk in and go, like, here's his pardon. He did the same shit with 2 other campaigns and admitted to it. So the irony is that not only is he being arrested and indicted for a crime he committed getting Russian money to Trump, but the pardon Trump gave him gave them evidence to use against him, which is effectively an admission of guilt. He could have punted this fucking case past the point where it wouldn't have been, it's adjudicated in another court, Your Honor, in another state, and the DOJ is trying to hash this shit out. They could have fought back and forth about this shit forever, but since Trump gave him the fucking pardon, that's the thing that sealed the deal. That's why he's going to go to fucking jail over this. It's so fucking good. Again, this is the $7,500 sneaker. This is Donald Trump. It is a
continue anything. He is the losingest loser in the history of losing.
An absolute.
And the only reason he won in 2016 is because the Russians helped. I will believe that to the end of my days. I will die mad because Hillary Clinton was our rightful 45th president. We were robbed. We were robbed of having her as our rightful 45th president. The people chose Hillary. And that's how the president should be elected. And we need to get rid of the Electoral College. I agree. It's antiquated and racist. And most people agree, except not Republicans. They don't agree about that. So
well, I would argue that the TYT crowd played a huge part in the 75,000 liberal leaning voters or or
but
lefty
the Steve
voters.
Bannon thing,
Yeah. So check this out.
This real grift.
Yes.
This is a real grift. That was your money, MAGA people. That was your real. You went to work and you worked hard and you got a paycheck. And do you think Steve Bannon gives a shit about how hard you worked to make that money? No. Do you think Donald Trump cares what you had to do to get the money to send to him because he's a fucking grifting piece of broke ass, bankrupt, rapey shit? No, he does not care. And if you think it's just all chuckles and fun to make fun of liberals and pretend and squander your vote because you think it's funny, I would ask you to stop doing that, please, because it's not funny. This is your life too. This is your livelihood. This is your country. You only get the one. If you want to go to Russia with Tucker Carlson, there are flights every day.
Knock yourself out. But
knock yourself out, right?
Yeah.
But if you genuinely care, this should matter to you.
Look at this. This is an article. This is about Steve Bannon didn't pay his lawyer, right? Steve Bannon, and in not paying his lawyer, he made an argument, I can't afford to pay my lawyer. I'm not stealing services from my lawyer. Because there's two ways to look at this. One is, I ran out of money because of the goddamn case, and I can't afford to pay him. And then the other one is, my lawyer, ran up a huge legal bill, and then I lost because he's incompetent or some shit. So that's your other argument. In this particular case, it is simply that he just told him to go. He thought Bannon thinks he's Trump. He thinks they're interchangeable. And he also knows Steve Bannon is smarter than Donald Trump, which is not saying a lot, but it grinds him that Donald Trump is got more power, more prestige than he does. And that's one of the wonderful things about this asshole constantly. Like, you think Trump lives rent-free in liberals' minds. Jesus Christ. He lives rent-free.
I hate that expression.
In Bannon.
That expression is just the fucking dumbest. He lives rent-free. What does that even fucking mean? It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean shit.
It means you dwell on him all the time and you take those away. The point is, after failing to pay his lawyer $500,000, he's now clamoring to halt a review of his personal finances because that's what the lawyer called for. A situation that's forcing him to admit something that's quite embarrassing, that there might be evidence of his border wall fraud scheme in his bank accounts. Now,
of course there is.
The pardon that Trump gave him does not protect him from an ongoing process to shield funds. And this is how you know that the pardon that he got does not protect him from this from possible financial restitution and those kind of things, or him lying about what he had in court. So he broke the law when he was before his pardon. He was pardoned for the act, but he wasn't pardoned for if he perjured himself in court, for example. And that perjury could trigger a bunch of other things where he's hiding another crime. And if he's saying that crime doesn't exist, that's a lie to protect another crime. And so that's not in the pardon. And so he may end up, because he's stupid and Trump's stupid and they're both fucking stupid. Now, I take it back. Trump is dumb. Bannon is stupid. Stupid means you know better and you did it anyways.
Right.
Bannon's fucking stupid. And in this particular case, he tried to pull a Trump with none of the kind of psycho backup that he normally has, or without, I guess, maybe he was expecting some fucking MyPillow money to roll in and cover his ass, right? And I'm sure he asked. I'm sure he fucking asked. I'm sure.
They can't do anything by the book. They can't do anything that isn't cheating. They can't win fairly, so they cheat. And they lie, and they point the finger in our direction, and every accusation is a confession. These are guilty fucking criminals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
sugarcoating it, and there should be no normalizing of it. And the fact that it goes on, it continues to go on, going on right now.
Right,
it's endless.
Well,
somebody needs to put an end to the grift.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Let's just be abundantly clear. This specifically, this rip-off scheme to fuck maggots out of their money is again, I think the singular and only evidence you would need to go somebody else. If you're a real conservative or whatever, that I don't. Then DeSantis is a dweeb, but he never did anything like this to his supporters. Like
because he's not a lifelong con man raised by a lifelong con man. He has other shitty qualities.
That's right. And so, like the idea that, I mean, this points to the problem aspect of Trump as the candidate for them, anyways. Yes. Oh, and yes, we'll do the Peter Navarro video this afternoon because he got
what a piece of shit he is too. I mean,
he tried to smack that woman's sign out of her hand because he's just upset because he's going to jail for Donald Trump, and Donald Trump doesn't give a rat.
Follow her on Twitter, by the way. She's the best. At Satire AP, Anarchy Princess is great. Can you just not be dicks? You want to keep being in a cult? That's on you. Quit being dicks about it. It's not my fault, right? Mm-hmm. It's not my fault he's doing this shit that's disappointing you. You have a problem with the way Trump is acting. Why don't you try holding him accountable? Just because someone doesn't take responsibility, that doesn't mean we don't hold them responsible, right?
Well,
it doesn't mean you can't make demands of them,
right? I think ultimately, how this is going to play out is that, and this is, I do think there is part and parcel to the dwindling crowds, for example, or the extremity of his hardcore supporters, because part of that intensity you see in the kind of Eagle Pass trucker convoy crowd, in their like rabid, angry following of Donald Trump, is because that's the result of psychologically fighting off reality. If you have
they can't possibly accept that they've been backing the wrong guy all this time. And people keep asking them to.
People keep asking these questions about how he could pardon somebody who ripped off people, and when they bring it up,
they ripped off.
And it's not us. Not listening to us. They're listening to people who are used to be there, used to go with them to these events, used to be right next to them at a Trump rally, and they're not there anymore. That's the key.
Listen, because they don't want to believe it's true, and disappointment is like one of the hardest human emotions to get past, because you had something real, you felt, you had a real connection or a real reason, or you felt seen, or you felt heard, whatever your personal reasons are. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit. No. He doesn't give a shit what your reasons are for voting for him. He doesn't care why you're still loyal. He just wants your money. That is all, and he has never given you anything in return. Absolutely nothing. You have not personally gained from your loyalty to him. I don't know why you believe you have, but you have not. And everything that you have ever enjoyed in this country and in your own livelihood is because Democrats fought for you to have it. Because Democrats see all Americans, not just the ones that vote for them. So again, you don't want to believe Hal or me, that's fine. You have a problem with the way Joe Biden is running the country, and you have voted in the past, then contact your elected officials and verbalize your displeasure with how they're doing their jobs instead of trolling me or trolling Democrats. It's not our fault you don't like the truth. It's not our fault you won't accept the truth. And when you're done and when you're ready to leave the MAGA cult, we will happily accept you over here back on Earth One. We'll welcome you. We'll give you some juice and cookies to get your blood sugar back up. And then we'll keep feeding you the truth. And that will fortify you, because regardless of what it is, the truth is the thing that you always can come back to and count on and rely on. You don't have to like it.
Right.
That's not what the truth is for. And also, there's no such thing as a perfect candidate. You're not choosing a mate for life. You're not choosing a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You're choosing someone who's confident enough to run your country so that you can go to the mall and not die. Little things like that matter, I think. Right. Anyway, we've gone over. So let's just talk about how reading is fundamental.
It is. Check out the book. Go to TaraDublinRocks.com. See, look, I changed the thing. And now
Cameron Crowe. If that doesn't convince you, I've got a blurb from Cameron fucking Crowe.
She got blurb.
There, look at that.
That's a nice blurb.
That should matter, right? I have now sold, thanks to the wonderful people in the Sparks verse, I'm up to 512 copies sold of the book.
Nicely done.
Thank you. And we're closing in on 24,000 pages read on Amazon Kindle. And by the way, I did announce the title of the sequel, as I promised I would once I hit 500. So I have a sequel that I wrote. I don't know. Maybe it's a prequel. Maybe it's not a sequel. Maybe it's something else. I don't know what it is, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't finished The Sound of Settling yet. But it's called Heavy Meddling. Meddling.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I like a pun.
It is good.
I wore the Foo Fighters shirt to promote the book, because there is the Foo Fighters connection. It's the Dave Grohl origin story. Also, this weekend would have been Taylor Hawkins' 52nd birthday, and I miss him as much now as I did 2 years ago, and it's still
Right.
devastating. And we're about to come up on the second anniversary of him tragically dying, and it's just all very
Right.
hard. So the thing that would make me the happiest is to get this book to Dave Grohl. That'd be nice. Or
Mm-hmm.
just, a producer or an agent would be great. And again, TaraDublinRocks.com. It's on your screen. It'll redirect you to Amazon. If you have Amazon Unlimited, if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free on the Kindle, and then there's a paperback.
There you go. Thanks
Thank
so much,
you.
Tara.
Have a
Appreciate it.
great week, everybody.
You too. See you again.
See where we are next Monday.
Yep. Okay. All right. Be well. Bye. There she goes. Ladies and gentlemen, Tara Dublin, indeed rocking. And chat room, hi, how are you? Jeff in our chat was saying, Hal, why are you not interacting with the chat group? Because Tara's a handful. There's a lot of talking going on. I'm trying to get my points in too when we're having a conversation or whatever. It's not that I'm not interacting with you guys. I will happily do that now and read some super chats. By the way, Lindsay has super chatted $2, and she said, "Will Trump flee to avoid consequences? Jail?" No, I don't think so. I think he's where's he gonna go? Is one of the things. Like he's such a xenophobe, and he's so scared of everything that's different. There's no version of that, so I'm not worried about that. And if he did, what a great, talk about giving a, hey, Boston Brian, how are you, sir? What a great win for our side. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine the day he flees the country and the rest of us were like, all right. I played a little part in that. I would like to say the man fleeing the country. I'm just saying I'm not saying it's all me, but I'm saying it's a little bit me. I'm going to claim my 0.5% of this asshole bugging out. Right? Yeah, it'd be a national celebration. The irony that all the people that were like, if Trump wins, I'm moving to Canada and all that shit. And then Trump bugs out and does his own moving to Canada, whether it's fucking Russia to bunk with Snowden's corpse or whatever, or he moves to like Macau, and expects the Chinese to protect him or some shit like that. Whatever it is, like, I don't know if he's going to go to fucking Dubai. Like, where does he go? Here's the weird thing. If he flees to a country we have extradition with, we can get him. If he flees to a country we don't have extradition with, the Secret Service can't go with him, so he's going to have to pay for his own security. What the fuck? Like, no way. Yeah, that's not happening. So, ask Jesse Ventura. He knows. I agree. I have an idea where it'll go down. Listen here. Settle in and gather round. I'll tell you exactly where he's going to go. Underneath Area 51. There's a former Marine base 7 miles below the Earth's crust. Yeah, I worked there for a weekend setting up the gym. And that's where they have a lot of the alien bodies. That's where they keep a lot of non-human life forms. I think he'd feel great. I think he'd be very comfortable there. They even have a fake McDonald's because they had this whole setup to introduce aliens to life on Earth, set up in 1977. So, like all the dummy humans you have around, they've set up like this little fake underground town, and everybody's got a lot of chest hair, pubes, and mustaches because of when they created it. He might move down there for a while. And then if you go down there, it's really lovely. There's actually a walkway, one of those moving walkways like in an airport, like in Denver. Yeah. And you can just get on that thing, takes you right to Antarctica. And you can visit Hitler's brain. It's in a jar. He's not alive. He's not controlling things. They kept it alive so they can torture him. Yeah. So there's a thing where we have a swear jar in the special military base, and if you go down in there, if you swear, you can put a quarter in the jar, and if it gets to a certain point, whoever has not sweared the whole month gets the whole jar of quarters, and they get to flick Hitler's brain. They've got this little acupuncture needle right in the middle of it that makes him feel like his asshole's on fire, and you just flick it like that, and you can watch the needle jump. That's what we all do for a good time. And then once a year for the underground state fair, we have this
thing where we put it on a dunk tank of really cold water, and it's full of, they stick the acupuncture needles in it and they hook it up to electrodes so it feels again. And then if you throw a baseball, it falls into the cold water. And it freaks it out. It shocks it up there. And you could see it swear in German. It's fantastic. I thought they should clone it, but then that's just wrong. It's not under the Denver airport. Are you guys not following me? Come on. Area 51. Not everything's under the Area 51 has a moving walkway that goes right to the basement of the UN. Pay attention. I mean, in Belgium.
You feel like you had it explained to you?
Fantastic.
What's my shirt say? Oh, I can't read it very well anymore. I'm not even quite sure. I think it just says forever, but it's one of those yoga-y shirts that's semi-see-through that you can work out in and it doesn't stank too bad. Because I'm going to go to the gym after the show. So, just doing that because I'm rehabbing my shoulder. I got to go hang, literally, just like free hanging off this thing. I just don't have anything at the house that, you can see there's one of my, there's a little bruise there. And then I still got, they're almost gone. Look at that. That's nice and yellow. Look at that guy. That's one of my cupping marks. I'm taking care of myself. Come on. Come on.
Come on. I can do it. Listen here. Come on.
I'll have what? Thanks. I appreciate that. I'll save that one for later. Joe Rogan interviews Jesse Ventura. That'd be terrible. Jimmy, bring up that thing where I argued with Jesse Ventura that time. If you can find it, because I think we did it, but I don't remember much because I mean, the pot has really affected my brain. I don't remember.
Listen here, come on. I'll tell you what's going to happen. We'll fly you down to Baja, and then you and I can fucking argue all we goddamn want to.
Jamie, was that the video or did he actually talk to me? I don't. It's hard for me to tell the difference between videos I've watched on Twitter and real human interactions. I think it's the combination. Jamie, put that thing up on the screen about the dangers of combining shitty weed and the alpha brain stuff at the same time. That half a study that was done that I take super seriously. After that,
the fuck is the matter with you, man? Come on. God damn it. Do you have any thoughts of your own, or does all your shit come from fucking TikTok? The fuck is wrong with you, buddy? Jesus.
Sorry, I was watching Jamie. I was watching him talk like a video, and I thought it was. It seemed like he was talking to me. It seemed like he was actually saying things to me from the screen.
The screen? What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm sitting across the goddamn table. You could reach out and touch someone. Shit. Our dicks are 36 inches apart, which is, I'm almost touching you. Thank God yours is turtling. What the ever-loving fuck is going on here? I don't understand.
And scene. And that one's dedicated to all the trolls and shit talkers in our chat today who think it's their job in life to be rebellious and contradictory for the sheer sake because somebody has to do it. Because if a conversation moves in one direction, it's not worth anything. It's always got to be, someone's always got to sit there at the table and go, yeah, but I mean, if the waiter's late, we're gonna miss the movie. And it's always great to have a person like that around, thinking that they're serving a purpose, because when a person like that doesn't serve a purpose, that's when things get dangerous, and that's when they fall victim to the kidney.
Holy fuck. Nobody told me the kidney was gonna be here. God damn it. Get me the fuck out of here. The kidney. Jesus, what was that? Hit subscribe, god damn it. What the fuck is wrong with you guys? Trying to hit 66.6 thousand subscribers, and we're going to stay there. Yeah, it's all part of the plan. Trust the plan until you get punched in the face, and then, of course, don't plan anymore. Ever, fucking ever. Excuse me, I'm late because I ain't got time.